Hello everybody, my name is Kyle Smith. I'm the activity programmer at the Wellington County Museum and Archives, and on this absolutely gorgeous May Day, I have come to the equally gorgeous village of Glen Allen here in the township of Mapleton, because this is one of the places where one of my very favorite stories in Wellington County's history took place, and that is the story of the Queen's Bush settlement. Now, also on days like today, I really enjoy curling up with a good history book, and if you live in Wellington County, the one book that I could not recommend more is this one right here. It's by a lady by the name of Linda Brown Kubish. It's called The Queen's Bush, and it talks about the Black history of this area. And a lot of times when I talk about the Queen's Bush and the Black history of Wellington County, and especially in the Glen Allen area, I get a lot of people who seem confused. This is known today as very Mennonite country, and so you don't think often about Black Canadians and their story, but they are really the very first people to come to this area other than the Native Canadians who came here and settled and started to farm here, and their story is fascinating, and this book really does go into detail about it. The reason that I'm here is Glen Allen was the center of this Queen's Bush settlement, and in honor of this, the government of Ontario has put up a plaque, which you can see behind me. If you come to the Glen Allen Park, where I am right now, you can read it. But in a nutshell, the Queen's Bush in the early 1800s was known as unsettled land. It hadn't been surveyed, the government hadn't come through, you couldn't purchase this land. But if you didn't have anything, and a lot of Black Canadians in Upper Canada at the time had escaped from slavery in these horrific circumstances, these amazing heroic stories, they get across to Upper Canada, but they don't have enough money to purchase their own farms, to create their own life. But the Queen's Bush settlement offered a place where they could come out here semi-legally, start their own farms, create their own lives, and then they could live separated from everyone else. They could create their own communities, and a vibrant and amazing community of Black Canadians gets started here right here in Wellington County for a number of decades, up to the point where in the 1850s there's approximately 3,000 Black Canadians living here in the Queen's Bush settlement, which would make it the largest Black settlement in Upper Canada and the second largest Black settlement in all of Canada, which is an amazing story, which sometimes doesn't get talked about. It sometimes gets forgotten about because by the 1860s and 1870s, Black settlement starts to trail off, and a lot of other community members and people from other diverse backgrounds start coming into this area, and the numbers just don't sustain. So it is a fascinating story. Please read that book if you want to know more. There is a ton of information about it. It is incredibly amazing. The heroic stories of the very first non-native settlers to this area, these amazing Black Canadians. I would recommend you read it, but in the meantime, if it's a nice day like today, it's a great day for a drive. I would like to take you to one more Queen's Bush historical site, which is actually just around the corner from here. So if you hang tight for just a minute, I'm going to be right back and I will show you. Thank you. Bye. Okay, we made it. We've traveled just a little bit outside of Glen Allen, up County Road 12, and then down the 4th line. We are technically outside of Wellington County. We are just across the border, but you have to remember, as far as the Queen's Bush settlers were concerned, there was no border. This land was unsurveyed at the time, so this was still part of that Glen Allen Queen's Bush settlement. And the reason that I've come here today is because this is one of the very last physical remnants that you can still visit today of the Queen's Bush settlement. This is obviously a cemetery. Not all of the names behind me, but a few of the markers behind me are Queen's Bush Black Canadian settlers who came here. And you can still visit this today. You can look at the markers, you can read the names. And what I like about this, I could give you facts and figures. I could talk about 3,000 Black Canadians living here in the Queen's Bush in the 1850s or the American Civil War, what have you. But sometimes the real stories of these people, the real voices of these people can get a little bit lost in the telling of it. So what I like about this is you can read the names on the stones and you can really get a sense of these people were real people who really lived here in our backyard, and they're amazing and incredible and heroic stories. And you can even do one better. If you go online, there's a man by the name of Benjamin Drew, and he was an American abolitionist in the 1850s, and he wrote a book, and it's called The Refugee, and you can read it all online. It's entirely available online, so please do search it. But what he did is he interviewed a lot of these people who were living here in the Queen's Bush, right in Wellington County, and he got their stories. And their stories of slavery, of being born into slavery, of escape, their stories of coming to the Queen's Bush and creating a life out of the bush, out of the woods, out of nothing, and creating these farms and this community all the way around it are incredible. Amazing stories of heroism from right in our backyards. Men like John Little. John Little had been born in South Carolina into slavery, had been tortured, escaped a number of times, kept getting captured, finally escapes for the last time, makes it to Upper Canada with his wife. Has nothing but the clothes on his back and his freedom. Comes to the only place that he knows that he can create some kind of life for himself here in the Queen's Bush. Borrows some seeds and some tools from the Mennonites in Waterloo. Comes up here in the middle of February with snow he describes up to his waist, bears, wolves running around, freezing, builds a shelter in the woods, and 10 years later, when Benjamin Drew is interviewing him, he and his wife have created an amazing farm, acres under cultivation, a house, a barn, and they've created this amazing life out of almost willpower alone. These incredible stories from right here that you can read about if you read this book or read Linda Brown Kubish's book, or visit these places. And this place, the reason that I come here is because this is just the one place where I can feel very connected to these people, very connected to their stories, and see and touch that physical reminder that they existed and that they did these amazing things. So I would recommend all of you come out here, read those books, hear those stories. I cannot do it near justice today, but please do so. And until the next time that I see you, enjoy reading those things, and I'll talk to you again soon. Thanks. Bye.